The thing with gaming the system is the game only works for a short period of time, right? So if you're trying to do the right filter or the right audio or the right hook or the right text or whatever it is, once Instagram gets smart to that and everybody else gets smart to that, it stops working. So it works for a blip in time, and then you're on to the next trick, the next hack, the next, game that you can do.
This is Social Pulse Podcast. Social media simplified, impact amplified. Each week, we equip social media professionals like you with actionable strategies and diverse insights from peers, experts, and leading platforms. It's all about empowering you to simplify the complex and make a real impact with your host, Mike Alton. And now, the rest of today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast, where we're digging into the challenges, successes, and stories of social media and community professionals in the industry, just like you. Subscribe to gain valuable insights that you'll be able to apply to your own work and social presence from each and every episode. Now, are you tired of endless Instagram algorithm hacks that promise the world but deliver nothing but wasted time and effort? You spend hours creating content based on the latest insider tip, only to watch your reach flatline or even decline. You're constantly second-guessing your strategy, wondering if you're missing some secret formula that everyone else seems to know. The truth is, most of what you've been told about the Instagram algorithm is either outdated, oversimplified, or just flat out wrong. And that's exactly what our guest today is here to help you fix. Jen Herman is a globally recognized Instagram expert, author of Instagram for Business for Dummies, and the mastermind behind Jen's Trends, a blog that Social Media Examiner has consistently named as one of the top social media blogs you should be reading. She's one of my oldest and dearest friends and has been at the forefront of Instagram marketing education for years, helping businesses cut through the noise to find what actually works for sustainable organic growth. Hey, Jen, welcome to the show.
Yay! I'm on the show.
You are here. This is amazing.
It is. And I love that intro because, yes, so many misconceptions about the algorithm. I can't wait to talk about it.
So let's start with the elephant in the room. Social media is flooded with these Instagram algorithm hacks. What's the biggest misperception that you see people kind of believing about how the algorithm actually works?
So the biggest misconception is how often the algorithm changes. People literally email me every day and they're like, Jen, the algorithm's changed again. And I'm like, no, it hasn't. In the last decade, the algorithm has only changed 6 or 7 times. And technically, how it operates today is almost identical to how it operated 8 years ago, 10 years ago. Yes, we have new things. We've got reels, we have carousels, we've got sponsored posts and recommendations and all these other things that go in there. And that's what evolves with the algorithm. But as a whole, the algorithm doesn't change. It doesn't change month to month. What changes is consumer behavior. What changes is content creation. And what changes is trends or what people are interested in. And that spurs algorithmic behavior shifts. It's not the algorithm itself. It is designed to give you more of what you're most likely to watch, share, comment on, and engage with. And it's just ranking all this content for you as the consumer based on that criteria. So as a whole, it really hasn't changed that much. And that's what I wish more people understood.
Yeah, it is kind of this general misperception about social media. That stuff's just changing every single day. And, you've been writing about social media for a decade, and the stuff doesn't really change that fast. In fact, AI came along and said, hold my beer. I'm literally going to change every single day.
And Instagram does a lot of changes. I mean, they probably give us 3 or 4 solid updates a month, and they test 5 or 6 other things a month. So there's always ballpark-ish 10 things that kind of change every month. But these are nuanced changes. It's introducing a new sticker to your stories. It's, adding a little feature here, or a lot of the meta AI changes and those sorts of things. But how the platform functions only goes through a handful of significant changes a year, maybe 5 or 6 milestone changes. And those are things like we just had the profile layout update. That's a big change. That's something that, catastrophic to people's content planning. Reels rolling out, huge shift, right? Like there's those things, but in general, the platform itself is pretty stable. It's what we do as consumers that's always evolving.
And for folks listening who maybe, you guys don't know Jen, I don't know what's wrong with you, why you don't know her, but if you don't know her like I do, you got to understand she's been writing about every single one of these changes, either directly to Instagram or to her blog or to her newsletter or to her Facebook community. Basically, since Instagram was born, certainly since I met you, like 2010, 2011. So when she says only 6 or 7 algorithm changes over the past decade, this isn't hyperbole, and she's being accurate. So I know you've been studying this stuff. How has the algorithm actually evolved? And maybe what are some of the core principles that have remained consistent over this past period of time?
The most important thing to understand about the algorithm is that it is a one-to-one relationship. Reels have a bit more of a popularity contest factor built in. But as a whole, Instagram is a one-to-one, meaning if Mike follows me on Instagram, and if he always interacts with my content is at the top of his feed, regardless of how my content performs elsewhere. It's a one-to-one relationship in terms of how he consumes my content. If every time he sees my content, he scrolls past it because he's rude, then in that case, my content goes lower and lower in his feed because he's not actively interacting with it. The same thing goes for suggested post. If you watch something on a suggested post, the algorithm goes, okay, we're going to give you more of that. If you don't interact with it, it stops feeding you that. So it's not this popularity contest that we're so programmed to believe from meta platforms like Facebook, like Reels. Things like LinkedIn even work on more of a popularity, meaning the more your content performs, the more these platforms show it. That's not how Instagram has ever worked. And Reels is the only real portion of Instagram that does work in that capacity, where the more that content performs, likes, comments, shares, the more they distribute it to more people. But if you're following me and you interact with my content, you are going to see my content. So, of course, on the flip side, if me as the brand, if I'm not getting reach, that's not on the algorithm. That's on me. That's a big pill to swallow because yes, reach is down. Yes, there's all these issues with getting your content in front of more people, and I'm not here to say that it's 100% your responsibility, but if you're not creating the content that people want to interact with, Instagram stops showing it to them. So we need to focus on, and we'll talk more about this, but things like our insights and things like our engagement, comments and participation, and knowing what our content is doing to produce more of what is actually delivering results. And then that snowballs over time as we do more and more, because we have to serve our audience what they want. And fun fact, what works for you doesn't work for me, right? The big misconception is that, well, you have to do this many posts a week, right? Or you have to do Reels, or you have to do this. I can show you my insights right now. And my top performing posts are single photos and carousels. They outperform Reels right now for me because that's what works for my audience. Your audience may consume Reels by the boatload and ignore your photos. But it's because it's that one-to-one relationship that we need to focus on what our audience is consuming and do more of that to really get those results.
Yeah, it's funny because Facebook has now started to actually send me a notification about once a week or so telling me, hey, we're distributing your posts even more because they were getting engagement. So just to prove your point, Meta is not only doing exactly what you said, they just came right out and
They're telling you.
told me. They're saying the quiet part out loud, folks. It's actually happening.
Yes.
Now, one of the things we do at Agorapulse, and we've done this for years, you could go into the reports at Agorapulse and you could see a recommended base preferred time to post based on how your previous posts had performed with your unique audience. And then recently we implemented an AI version of that, which would extrapolate from based on, other people's posts and industries and that sort of thing. But that, of course, is different from, these viral posts that say post at this time or, use these hashtags. Is that kind of like what you were talking about before, where those posts are based on that individual's experience, or is there something else going on there?
Yeah, I mean, we hear all the time, right? Like I get the question, what time of day should I post? Or, do I need to use certain, like certain hashtags or certain words, or do I need a certain hook or a certain filter? The thing with gaming the system is the game only works for a short period of time, right? So if you're trying to do the right filter or the right audio or the right hook or the right text or whatever it is, once Instagram gets smart to that and everybody else gets smart to that, it stops working. So it works for a blip in time, and then you're on to the next trick, the next hack, the next, game that you can do. The real key to success is, to your point, looking at your insights. And it's less about the time of day. It's more about the day of the week, because again, the algorithm is going to sort the content, right? So if I post at 8 a.m. and you log in at 10 a.m., it's taking every post that's been uploaded since your last login and ranking it in priority for your feed. I could post at 8 a.m., but you still may not see it because I'm ranked 237th on your priority list. I could have posted yesterday at 7 a.m., you log in today at noon, and I could be number 1 in your list because you always interact with my content. So it's not about gaming it down to this finite time. It's more about the day. So again, if your audience is active on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, why are you posting on Monday and Wednesday? They're not going to see that content. If your audience is active Monday through Thursday, why are you posting on Friday and Saturday? That's the bigger issue. It's, again, knowing when your audience is there and getting in content in a relevant time frame. Whether it's 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. isn't going to make a difference. And it also depends, again, on that frequency of your audience. Now, I have a lot of people who follow me because they go to a conference. You see me speak, they hear me on a podcast, something like that, and they follow me because they heard about Instagram. They did an Instagram session. They're like, oh, I'm all in. I'm going to follow Jen. But they're really not all in on Instagram. And they only log in once a month or 2 or 3 times a month or once a week. And so I have a very large portion of my audience that are low volume, which means if they're logging in twice a month and they follow 500 people, how much content do you think they can get served that one time they log in, right? There's no way they can get through everything. And so it again comes down to that audience behavior. It's that, their time on the platform. Are they logging in every day? They're going to see everything. Are they logging in once a week? They might only see 2 of your posts if you post 4 or 5 times. So it's less about the time of the day, about which hashtag you used, or again, what SEO keyword or those sorts of things. It's playing the short game to get your content out in the relevant time frames, and it's playing the long game for search. That's kind of your 2 main goals with your content.
I guess folks listening, I guess you can decide, do I want to spend the next 5 years chasing after every latest trend and filter and audio background for reels, or do I want to create content that really resonates with my audience and focus on helping them? I think that's a pretty clear choice. But let's talk about the new profile layout changes. And I'm saying it this way because I hate them, but maybe you don't. I don't know. How do these impact how the algorithm evaluates and surfaces profile and search and discovery?
Yeah. So as a whole, the new profile layout doesn't have a significant algorithmic impact. It's an aesthetic impact. Forever, literally forever, as long as we've had Instagram, we've had square photos. Everything cropped to a square on the grid. Didn't matter what format you uploaded in the feed, it cropped to a square on the grid. And square was the optimized preferred format. But it didn't give preference to if it was portrait or landscape or square. There was no real preference in terms of the content distribution. And the same thing is true now that we've gone to portrait, which is, for the sake of argument, very confusing. It's basically a 4x5 in the grid. but it's not really. It's a 3x4, but it's a 4x5. It's a whole thing. But Instagram's updated and they're finally catching on to the issues they made with the sizing and everything. But that portrait, that 3x4 optimized, which is what's most camera phones, if you open them, go to a 3x4 portrait mode. That is now the ideal size for Instagram. Now, of course, this does mean changing your templates, and it means changing your graphics and things to fit in this new crop. Will they change it again? I honestly don't think so. Now that they finally put the 3x4 in there, because it was 4x5 and that was just useless. So now that we're at the 3x4, this is permanent, meaning they won't go to a 9x16 vertical photo. The 9x16 will remain optimal for your reels, and reels will always be distributed in 9x16. If you have a 3x4 or a square or a landscape, it's going to go in a vertical with the blank above and below. It's always going to be distributed as a 9x16. Your photos, you can still do squares. If you want to do squares, you can. Just know it's going to get cropped off in the grid. When someone goes to your profile grid, the sides will be cropped off to make it that vertical kind of portrait mode. But in terms of what shows up in the feed, there is zero preference given based on size. Now, there are a lot of people who feel that the taller photos, they get more landscape, which it's not landscape, it's landscape in terms of actual space. But it gets more presence in the feed, right? You get more time on the screen. So people want to go to these taller images because they want to take up that space, that real estate. And does it make a difference to the grand scheme? No. Can you put more into a vertical than you can in a square? Sure. Depending on the orientation of your photo. If you were taking a wide photo, you're going to take less of it if you make it a portrait, right? So it's really a matter of preference and aesthetic. For me, I'm fully adopting the 3x4, which I still have a 4x5 crop in terms of upload, but they're rolling out the 3x4 to more and more people. So that's my goal, is to adopt the 3x4, have that be my standard format, but it's not for any sort of preferential placement. It's just for pure aesthetics.
I've been wondering about that because, first of all, did I mention I hate it? I think I'm on I hate it.
When it launched, my videos, we all knew how I felt about it.
We were all there. But, I mostly publish reels. And this is my concern, is that the reels obviously look cropped on the main feed, on my main profile grid. And they're either going to have to change that, I think, or not have the reels on the profile grid. Either way, I think. But I'm not sold that they won't change this again. I'm not sold on that. But we'll see. Time will tell. But speaking of reels, they've definitely been this golden child of Instagram for a while now. Are they still the favorite that in the algorithm that everybody else claims, or do you think that shifted, or that was never the case?
It has been the case 100%. When Reels came out, it was Reels. And a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon, and rightfully so, because back in the day, I could try nothing and a reel would hit 20,000 people. Now I can put my entire strategy and a whole lot of planning and I'll reach 5,000 people. And I'm like, good God. It was the thing for sure, but it's evolved. And I think the key differentiation that people need to understand is what reels are good at. Reels are really good at getting in front of new audiences. Reels are not good for conversions. Reels are not good for getting people to go to your link in bio and actually do something. Reels are really good for short form, or, even if it's a minute or a minute and a half, if it's a good entertainment or a good watch, they will watch it. But for the most part, Reels are good for short form, still under a minute of content. And they're good for reaching new audiences. If you want to grow, if you want to reach more people, if you want new eyeballs on your content, Reels are absolutely successful for that. No question. They get more recommendations. They get more shares. and they will get that placement when people are looking for your relevant keyword or those sorts of things. So Reels are great for that brand awareness at the top of the funnel. If you want conversions, if you want to serve your existing audience, that's where carousels and singular posts come in from the feed perspective. But ultimately, stories are always going to be your not always, in general, always, not necessarily for you, but in general, stories will be the highest converting content because they go to your existing audience. We tend to be more relaxed in our stories. We can put link stickers in our stories.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to see the highest conversion from Instagram stories. And those could be videos. They could be photos. They could be text, right? They could be anything. But it's knowing that hierarchy for your strategy. So do I use Reels? Absolutely. Do I hate them? Yes. But I use them because I need them. I feel about Reels the way Mike feels about the new grid. But I use them because they work. But they work for a specific purpose within my entire strategy. I will never go all in on Reels. I will never go all in on singular photos. Each one of these pieces of content have a specific purpose within your strategy, which in general is Reels at the top of the funnel. Carousels are great for secondary exposure. So they're really good for like calls to action or like, sales type or things you really want people to follow through on. Singular photos are great for education, information, tips, updates, those sorts of things, educating your audience with a longer caption. And then stories for your conversions, because you don't have to make people work as hard from stories. Now, of course, single feed posts can be high converting too. But it's your strategy. It's comment link below and we'll send you the link, or, go to our link in bio or whatever it is. Don't expect high conversions from Reels. Some people will get high conversions, but in general, it's understanding where each one belongs in your strategy that's going to bring each of those types of content the most success.
That makes a lot of sense. I love how you're painting this picture where we need to actually think about different kinds of content for different aspects of our strategy. And apparently I should have said at the outset that this is going to be a bit of a consulting therapy session, some drinking involved. Make sure you've got your favorite drink so you can commiserate along with Jen and I everything that you dislike about this platform that we absolutely love. We love you.
We love.
And I should mention as an aside, Agorapulse will help you schedule all this stuff out.
Yes.
Including those link stickers. We've got this really clever feature inside of Agorapulse that'll help you schedule stories with link stickers. It's pretty cool. Folks, we're talking with Jen Herman about how social media managers like you can actually achieve success on Instagram today. And I've got so many more questions for it. But first, let's make sure that you've got plenty of time available to dream up your next reel.
When I take a look at the biggest core benefit for Agorapulse, I have to look at two sides of the equation. I have to look at what it does for us as far as managing our community and all of the conversation management tools, which I appreciate so much. But from a far more pragmatic point of view, it saves us money. It saves us a lot of money because of the productivity features that are built in with how it manages those conversations. We don't waste time. We're efficient.
Agorapulse allows me to get through all my messages and my replies really quickly. That's probably the number one reason for me wanting to use the tool. It saves so much time.
A big draw for me with Agorapulse was the ability to manage my YouTube comments. That is a huge feature for me. And here's why, because up until then, I basically would have to go into my social media manager system to do everything there. And then I'd have to log out, go back into YouTube, and do the same thing there. Now, when you are managing multiple clients, this becomes a huge waste of time, right? And what we want to do is streamline that efficiency. So we can log into one website now. We can manage all of our major social profiles there, and we're able to serve our clients with more clarity and purpose.
They worked with us. They helped train us on how to get everything up and going. And we were able to cancel out all the other tools that, we didn't need anymore. So it saved us a lot of time and a lot of headache for my team members as they're, now they only have one tool that they can maximize their clients in.
So that was probably a little bit nostalgic watching that video.
It
Folks don't know those interviews Emmerich and I conducted at Social Media Marketing World in 2018, and you, Jen, were part of those
I was.
interviews. We've got a couple different montages. You're in some other ones, but those are all dear and fast friends of ours. So that was fun. I'm sure it's fun for me every time I watch that.
I was
But I'm
thinking how
wondering-
young they all look.
Oh gosh.
I was like, wow, we have matured.
Yes. Yes. We've grown in wisdom and in many other
Yes.
ways. So what are some ranking factors that actually work? What have you observed where they actually impact organic reach, not the rumors? What have you tested and proven?
So there's a couple things that you have to consider. So the metric that I look at to understand what's working first is reach. I look at my reach, not my likes, comments, shares, not the first thing I do is look at reach, because reach tells me if that post is performing. If I know my baseline is a reach of 1,000 and I see a post reach 2,000, now I'm digging into the results. Why did that one perform as well as it did? If I have a baseline of 1,000 and this one reached 700, again, what did I miss? Where am I off? So that's the first thing I look at. But in terms of then knowing what's performing, what typically, again, this is one of the most recent algorithm shifts, is Instagram has a big weight on shares. Now, this is very much in line with, Facebook, LinkedIn, these sorts of things where they want shareable content. They want content that people are sharing into, from an Instagram perspective, direct messages, stories, those sorts of things where people are sharing your content. That is a key indicator that this is top quality content. If you're willing to consume my content, that's cool. If you're willing to consume my content and throw up a like or maybe a comment, okay, it was good. But if you're willing to share it with somebody, Instagram values this as this is high quality content, meaning it will get more distribution, meaning it will get more opportunity for things like search, explore, those sorts of recommended posts, those sorts of things. But I say this with a grain of salt because I have a lot of data that proves this does not work. So I have posts that will get 200 plus shares and will reach this tiny little fraction of non-followers. And I'm like, okay, Instagram, like I'm literally doing what you tell me to do, and I'm still not getting the distribution. And it's because there are so many other factors that go into it, including the relevancy of the post, the time of the post. So I have a post that just went out recently, and it's a big Instagram update, a news type thing, right? So I jumped on it quickly. This is new to the industry. This is a breaking news type thing. So yes, it got a ton of shares, a couple hundred shares, easy. But I'm competing with a lot of other people sharing the same information, right? So Instagram saying, okay, do I share Jen's post, which it got a ton of view in my audience, my existing followers, just not a lot of distribution to non-followers. But that's because there's probably 40 other Instagram experts out there sharing the exact same information at the exact same time. And yes, mine should get more play, but whatever.
Obviously.
It's Instagram saying, okay, you're more likely to like Jen's post, but this person's probably more likely to like this person's post. And so it has to disseminate all of this new similar content at the same time. So even though I have highly shareable content, it doesn't guarantee it's going to go viral or that it's going to all of a sudden get, 10 times what I would normally get for distribution. So while shareable content is a key indicator of success, that can't be your only goal, because if you're only going for shareable content, you're not serving your existing audience. You're not going to get conversions. Most shareable content isn't conversion driven, right? I'm not going to share a post that says, hey, come buy this new widget I have and have it be highly shared. But if I share something and I'm like, oh my gosh, here's breaking news in the industry, probably going to get a lot of shares, but there's no conversion intent behind it. So it can't always be the goal to do shareable content. That will get you, again, more of the top of the funnel. Reels are highly shareable. Carousels with tips, tutorials, and resources, highly shareable. Those are the types of pieces that are going to help you stay top of mind, help you grow your audience. But in terms of what you want for conversions, you're looking at website clicks. You're looking at links clicks in your stories. You're looking at how many followers you got from that post. That post that got all those shares, I got a bunch of new followers from it. And Instagram literally says, this person followed you from your post. And you go to the insights and it says, you gained this many new followers from this post. So those are things that matter to me more than just the share value. And again, like we were talking before with the types of content, you can't say there's one metric for success because each type of content has a different, metric in terms of what matters to you. So create the shareable content, get the distribution, get people seeing your content 100%. But that's a portion of your strategy. We want to look at, like I said, those conversion metrics or how many people are DMing you from like if you're saying leave a comment below and I'll send you a DM, or if your call to action is send me a DM and we'll send you the information, or if they're responding to a poll, a question, a quiz, something in your stories. Those types of engagements are massively indicative of high quality content with your audience and potentially even non-followers. Those matter probably more than the shares because those are people converted. Those are people doing what you need them to do to communicate with you. So again, it depends on your content purpose as to what your key metric will be.
Yeah, we did almost an entire webinar all about just how important the DMs are, how to encourage them. But if reach is our North Star,
Yeah.
and you're a business like me who's struggling with decreasing organic reach, what's the first thing you tell someone like me to look at in terms of like auditing our current strategy?
So the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is go look at your last 6 months of content. Don't go beyond 6 months because everything that's happened in 2025 is an evolution from what happened in 2024. Everything that happened, in 2025 is way beyond what happened in 2023. Like if you're looking at content from 2 years ago, it is irrelevant to what is working today. So look at your content for the last 6 months, whether, today or 3 months from now, look at the last 6-month window of content. You can go into your Instagram insights, you can go into your Agorapulse insights and pull your top performing content based on reach. So you can search for your parameter on Instagram and choose reach as your metric. Go look at your top performing content. What did the most reach? Is it reels? Is it carousels? Is it educational? Is it entertainment? Is it, personal behind the scenes stuff? Is it product or, service-based? What is your top performing content? Then we do more of that because we need to rejuvenate our audience. If they want the behind the scenes content, we double down on the behind the scenes content to boost our content back up. But it's not like, okay, so for the next week, we'll post behind the scenes content. No, for the next 6 weeks, you're going to post behind the scenes content. Not all of your content will be that, but you're going to double down and do more than you would normally do because you've got to give time for people to start interacting with it and the algorithm to adapt and start showing them more. And it gets presence, it gets play, it gets engagement. They start sharing it to more people, right? It's going to build over time like a snowball. It's not something you can do it for a week and be like, oh, well, it didn't work. That's just not going to work for us. You have to give everything a good 4 to 6 weeks minimum to recalibrate the algorithm whenever you make a significant change. So look and see what works for you and then do more of that. And then if you're like, okay, well, Jen, that's great, but our promotional content sucks. We're not getting any engagement on it, but that's what pays the bills. I get it. How do you take your promotional content and make it look like the good content? Can you turn it into behind the scenes and get away from the overly processed, heavily edited, perfect trailer type content and just have your staff sitting around a table in the back room opening a box if you're in retail, or, you know, give it to your kid and be like, here, play with this new product we launched, and have your kid doing stuff with it. Boom, there you go. You can still create your product sales promotional content, but we have to start putting it in a way that people choose to consume it. We can't give them what we want them to have. We have to give them what they're telling us they want. And we have to get creative within that sphere.
Now, is it safe to say that if it's somebody like me who's basically just posting the same stuff every single week, like I do, clips from my podcast as a reel, that's pretty much all I post to Instagram. So I think it would be a little more challenging then to look back at 6 months and find something that stands out if it's basically all the same. Should we throw in some carousels? Regardless of the data, throw in some behind the scenes, throw in some different categories of stuff. And if so, what would those categories be?
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges is if you're always doing the same thing, people get tired of it, right? Like if literally all I did was post an Instagram tip 3 times a week, every week for 6 months, my engagement would drop. My views would drop because people get oversaturated. They get tired of the same thing. They want different things, right? They want to see, what your desk studio setup looks like. They want to see, your fingers whizzing across the keyboard as you're in editing mode. They want to see, take a clip like from the green room, right? Something that's not the polished, perfect, here we are recording, no, it's been edited, the ums and ahs have been cut out, that sort of thing. They want to see the reality of it. They want to see when the camera falls over. These are the things that people want to see. And it's not the stuff that sells. So it's not the stuff we typically put out. But I mean, and Mike, you and I know this. I'm preaching to the choir when I say this, but people don't come onto social media to see what a brand is doing that day, right? They come on to see what their friends are doing, their family, what's going on in, trending, in whatever industry that they like, whether it's fashion, beauty, tech, movies, whatever, right? They want what's going on today, not being sold to, not being said, here's another thing in your face. Here, like, no, they want entertainment. They want fun. They want relax. They want to tune out from the world. So we got to mix in the things we want to push at them with the more casual content. And like I said, that could be the behind the scenes type things, but it could be taking what we talked about today. You have, your editor, whoever, pull out 2 or 3 sound bites, turn them into a carousel, put it into Canva, and now you have a carousel with, 3 or 4 kind of hot tip soundbite type things in an 8 or 9 slide carousel, and, go to link in bio to watch the whole episode. So, because again, like you take someone like me who doesn't really consume reels, I'm getting better about it, but I'm not a video person. I don't like watching videos. I want to read. I want to swipe that carousel and skim really fast. I want to read your long caption. So if all you're serving me is reels, I'm not watching because it's not how I choose to consume content. Now, of course, I do watch Mike's because it's Mike and I love Mike. But in general, if all you're doing is posting reels, you start to alienate a portion of your audience. And so you have to find ways to mix in this other content that serves them in a way that they go, oh, yeah, I do want to watch that episode. Or the next time you put up a reel, they see it and they're like, okay, but I know that last one they did was really good. So let me watch this reel because maybe this one's really good too. But you've got to mix up the content in this like little roller coaster. Otherwise, it's just a downhill slide if it's the same thing over and over and over again.
And I think that's why this kind of conversation is so important, because we all need that constant reminder to get outside of our own heads and try to think about our own audience. Because like you talk about, people don't want to do the same thing over again. You're talking to the guy who's listened to the Star Wars and/or soundtrack 100 times over the past 30 days and will keep listening to it because I like that repetition. I don't want change, but I'm not my own audience. My own audience is different from me. They have their own interests and wants and desires, particularly when it comes to social media content. Now we got to talk about AI before I let you go, because I'm wondering how AI is rolling out on Instagram? I don't know if it's impacting search. Is it impacting how content and creators should be thinking about optimizing for discoverability? How should they be approaching it from that perspective?
Great question. And we have to talk about it, right? I don't think we can have conversations these days without incorporating AI into the conversation because it's so prevalent. And it does impact in a few different ways on Instagram. So Instagram search has never been the most robust. Let's just be real. But I mean, Google, it is not a competitor. But if you went to Instagram and you searched, you could do like a short keyword search, right? So you could say like San Diego restaurants. You could say, new movies. You could say kids crafts, whatever it is. You could put in a couple keywords and Instagram would choose and sort a bunch of content relevant to your keyword search based on the number of criteria. That hasn't changed. That still works the same, and you still want to be optimizing for those keywords that people are searching for. Because again, there's an algorithm that's AI generated that's searching for this. So if you're in real estate and you're not saying real estate, homes, houses, listing your local communities, names and streets and parks and things, AI is not going to put you in those search results, right? So you need to make sure that you're using those relevant words that your target audience is searching for, not the fun words we come up with in our own head, but what people are actually looking for. What AI is doing as a shift, we know Meta AI is prevalent on all the Meta platforms, is if somebody puts in a longer tail keyword search, so they could do something like, things to do in San Diego. That is a long tail keyword search. That's not going to populate Instagram answers or post for you to go look at. That's going to launch Meta AI in a chat that's going to come back and be like, sounds like you're looking for things to do in San Diego. If you're a first-time visitor to San Diego, here's some great things you should do. Go to the San Diego Zoo, go to Coronado, blah, 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 blah. And it's this AI prompt that gives this huge, long answer. So you're going away from any Instagram results and being served essentially a ChatGPT response, but it's Meta AI. And so this is a shift, right? Because this is now taking you out of the Instagram platform. So you're looking at that going, okay, so it's my first time visiting San Diego. I should go to the San Diego Zoo. Are you more likely to back out of the chat and look for San Diego Zoo on Instagram? Or are you more likely to go to Google and go look San Diego Zoo tickets up? Probably going to go to the Google, go to the website, go to the options for tickets, these sorts of things. So it pulls you out of the platform. Not necessarily for everybody, but in a lot of situations, it's going to do that. And that could have a negative impact on distribution, on, again, consumption, time on the platform, and things like this. So, these are things that you have to consider as a whole. But the newer thing that Instagram has been testing, and they rolled it out and then they kind of rolled it back, but it's kind of still there. So I don't really know what they're doing. But if I put up a post that's talking about, I went to dinner at, let's say, a local restaurant. And if I put up a post about that restaurant, and maybe I had an amazing, Italian dish, what's going to happen is when you open up, not when you look at it in the feed, but when you open up the comment thread for that post, there's a little magnifying glass and keywords, which is Meta AI going through. It is scanning your content. And that little search is going to say something like Italian dishes or San Diego restaurants or something that is a relevant keyword search to what your content is about. You have no control over this. You have zero ability to tell them what the search topic is. It's scanning it based on your content. The problem is that if I, as a consumer, see your brand content, I'm on your profile, I'm looking at your content, your post, reading your comments, or people that left comments on your post, and I see this little magnifying glass and I click on it, I leave your content. I go to a whole new search dialogue, which is all these Instagram posts, all related to this ideal search topic. So maybe you're on my posts all about Instagram, right? You're learning about Instagram tips and tutorials and things you can do to improve your Instagram strategy. And you go to look at all the comments and you see there's this little thing that says Instagram tips. You're like, oh, that looks interesting. And you click on it. You've now left my profile and you're going to see thousands of other people's posts, and most of them very popular. So this isn't beneficial to small businesses. This is very beneficial to large creators and big brands. And you've left my content and now you're in a sea of other people's content. So when I could have had you go look at 3, 4, 5 more of my posts, I've now sent you away to go look at a whole bunch of other people's content, and I have no control over it. So there's these things where like we're still in these very early days. I mean, we all know this, right? AI is new enough that we're still in kind of like the wild, wild west, even though we're starting to get a little bit more stable. And these are the things that as Meta rolls these out, they have the best of intentions. And these are intended to serve the consumer, right? Not the brand, but the consumer, the person's experience on the platform. But as these happen, they're going to start to be like, oh, maybe that's a problem. Or maybe this is being misused. Or maybe this is producing the wrong results. So it's going to evolve, and we can't react to, well, we don't like this feature today, or this isn't working, this is a bad idea, because these are going to evolve repeatedly over the next, 6 months to 2 years. But it is very prevalent on the platform, and it is definitely drawing attention from creators that, want to optimize for these things. But my best advice is to optimize for that search SEO. Make sure you're using the right keywords. Make sure you have good descriptive captions. If you've got reels, make sure you have either like the caption sticker on there, or good audio, and or a good long caption. Because the more we give context to our content, the better it's going to do in search results. And that's where we want to focus our, AI content focus should be on that for search in general, not specifically for, these other little AI components that are still in development, let's call it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We are literally just at the infancy of AI. So everything's going to get better. Everything's going to change. Don't worry about that. Stuff of this, will evolve and change over time, which means we're going to just have you back. Probably just do a whole another episode about Meta AI and AI's impact on Instagram. But for now, we're out of time. And I know folks are going to be buzzing. I'm buzzing with ideas. If they've got questions, obviously they should follow you on X. Tell them where they should go to reach out.
So I'm pretty much everywhere as Jen's Trends, JENNS Trends. It's jenstrends.com. It's Jens_trends on Instagram, Threads, all the places. But if you go to the website, you can find all my resources on there, all my social media links, my membership program, my Facebook group, everything is there. But yeah, if you want to learn all things Instagram, please send me a follow, send me a direct message even over on Instagram. Let me know you heard me here on the podcast. Happy to answer questions. And my Instagram is full of tips, tutorials, breaking news, my unfiltered opinions, which tend to get very colorful, on all these different things. If you want, I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I share all like the real updates, news, and everything always goes on Instagram. So that's the best place to catch up.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jen. Thank all of you for listening. We'll have all of Jen's links in the show notes. As always, follow her on Instagram. Pay attention on Sundays. She does this live thing. It's fantastic. She gives a deep dive into a question from one of you. So ask her. Don't forget to follow and find the Social Pulse podcast on Apple. Drop me a review. Let me know what you thought of this episode. And don't forget, we've got an exclusive community on Facebook, Social Pulse Community, where you can join and network with literally thousands of other social media professionals. Until next time, see you then. And that's a wrap for this episode of Social Pulse Podcast, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by Agorapulse, your social media success partner, helping you simplify your daily tasks and improve your ROI. You can learn more and grab a trial at agorapulse.com. If you found today's conversation valuable, please hit subscribe on your favorite podcast player, and we'd be so grateful if you'd leave us a review. For more great content and to join our Social Pulse community, head over to facebook.com/Social Pulse Community. Until next time, remember, social media simplified, impact amplified.